Welcome everyone to It Tastes Different Gaming Appetizers. We got some rumors for you tonight. There was a rumor that the Switch 2 was demoed at Gamescom behind closed doors. Interesting. We've kind of talked off and on the last couple of years about what's next for the Switch. And, there was a lot of credible rumors a couple of years ago, and then they all fell through. And now there's new rumors coming around saying that we could see it as early as second half of 2024. Whether that's true or not, I'm not going to hold my breath because there's been so many of these. But if the rumors that it was showed off at Gamescom is true, that means we could be closer than we thought. Eurogamer is the magazine or online article that published this. They showed that it was basically demoed with a souped up version of Breath of the Wild. And also it was showed off running the Matrix Awakens Unreal Engine 5 tech demo that they put out a while back, and was using NVIDIA's DLSS AI powered upscaling tool along with ray tracing, and that it looked comparable to the PS5 and the Xbox Series consoles. To me, that would be an amazing feat for a handheld device, because they are claiming that it's still going to be handheld with an LED screen instead of an OLED to keep prices down. You just got to do everything you can if you're going to pump out a handheld console that can supposedly do as much as the big console makers of Sony and Microsoft. If they can't make them any smaller, and Nintendo's figured it out, and yeah, I don't know. I'm a little skeptical of that, but we will see. Nintendo's complaining about declining Switch sales, which, going on 6-7 years of this console's been out or whatever, and they're still selling multi-million-dollar number of units every year is just surprising to me. I guess they're complaining that they only sold 18 million instead of 23 million from the previous year. So I'm still flabbergasted that they're selling that number of units for a console that's that old. But they do. And, it is what it is. People love the Nintendo. I mean, I like my Switch, but I don't play that many games on it. I am excited to see what's coming next for Nintendo, but I don't know if my wallet's going to be ready for whatever the cost of something like that's going to be, especially if it's supposedly comparable to graphic quality of the PlayStation 5 and Series X. How much that little bitty thing's going to cost, and in a portable form factor. Who knows, man? I mean, this has come out rumors and rumors and rumors about this over and over and over. I'm a little bit gun shy of reporting on this rumor, but it's kind of credible that it was shown off, and that they are saying that dev kits are in the hand. There's people saying dev kits are in the hand of developers, but they said that last time too. And lo and behold, we got nothing. I'm excited to see what Nintendo does. I would love, because a lot of the games that are Nintendo only that we played, I would love for them to be able to be a lot more higher graphic fidelity than the cartoony look that we're used to. But that's Nintendo. Nintendo's cartoony look, that is what they do. And I don't have a problem with that because it fits their game. But we played a few games that are only out on the Switch that suffered because of it, I feel. But it is now time, Nintendo, start showcasing this. If we're not going to get to see it until after the second half of 2024, they should start selling. They should be starting to sell the crap, or hype the crap out of that thing right now, but they're not. But that's not Nintendo. Nintendo does their own thing. We know them that for years. Nick, are you ready for a Switch 2? Or do you think your wallet's ready for a Switch 2?
My wallet definitely is not. I am, though. Yeah. So yes, we've heard rumors about it a lot. Gamescom just happened, so I could see this one being more true, that it was probably shown. There's a lot of developers at Gamescom, so I could see them probably showing it off there. I think the Tokyo Game Show is coming up, so we could hear more about it being shown off behind closed doors there as well. If they're looking at the second half of 2024, then yeah, that PR and marketing machine better start running here soon, because you need to get people hyped up and ready to use their wallets to purchase the Switch 2. They also say that the Switch 2 is going to be utilizing DLSS Um, so, to keep the frame rates high. I mean, that's pretty impressive for a little handheld to be able to be comparable to, like you said, to the PlayStation 5 and Xbox Series consoles, as far as graphical and frame, graphical department and power and speed and things like that in a little handheld. I mean, man, that's a hell of a chipset they got going on there. I don't know what they've been working on, but man, because think about it, if we're talking about, I mean, the size, I guess the Xbox and the PlayStation, they have, they're not running dedicated graphics cards. They're running the graphics chips inside of those as well. But I mean, those are still big devices. I mean, I guess the smallest one would be the Xbox, but still, that would be one hell of a big handheld, even from the size of the Xbox Series, right? Like this big, huge. So I mean, maybe they could compact it down. I don't know. I mean, it's. We'll have to see with our own eyes. And also what makes a lot of that this could be believable too is they did the same thing with, I think the original Switch, I want to say, where they showed off a souped up version of like Zelda Wind Waker or something like that, or maybe Twilight Princess or something on the original Switch. I want to say it was for the original Switch. I can't remember, but they did the same thing when they showed that off to developers. Was a souped up version of one of the old Zelda games, which they never, of course we always wish that they would re-release that game, as the souped up version, but they never do. They just use it as a tech demo. But yeah, I mean, it could make a lot of sense, but if they are expecting to release it in 2024, that would be better. I think that would be the best release window for them, because the Switch right now is just long in the tooth. It's getting too old for these newer games. That's why a lot of the newer games have to stream, or we just don't see them come out on the Switch, because as games continue to advance and get more technical in graphics and performance, the Switch is not going to be able to keep up in its current form. So Nintendo needs to release something, especially if they want to stay. I know they don't compete with Xbox and PlayStation, but if they want to be somewhat competitive, they're going to have to, bring out something new that can somewhat compete with the newer consoles that are out there now, right? Especially, like I said, as games progress, we're seeing a lot of third-party games not come to the Switch for that very reason, right? Some of the bigger titles are just not coming to the Switch because they can't, not because they didn't want to. I'm sure these developers would love to put it out on the Switch. They just graphically, performance-wise, they just can't, because the Switch can't handle it, right? I mean, From Software came out with Armored Core 6, and I think the Switch was the only thing that it did not come out on. And, if the Switch was a more high graphical and performance machine, it probably would have, right? Because it came out on everything else. So it probably would have came out on the Switch. It's just the Switch wouldn't have been able to handle it. So they can't do that, right? The only way the Switch could get it is if they just had it stream to the Switch, which they decided not to do. But so, like I said, the Switch is getting just long, and it's not getting long in the tooth. It is long in the tooth, right? It's too old. It needs to have, Nintendo needs to come out with something new. So next year would be perfect for them to come out with something new, to be able to stay on within the same level as the PS5 and the Xbox, and be able to somewhat compete and get a lot of those third party games that are going to be coming out, those high end third party games coming out on the other consoles, so they can get sales on the Switch as well for those. And not that Nintendo's hurting. Like I said, they still sell a ton of consoles. Like they're like number 2. Xbox is at third place, and I think Switch is second place, and then PlayStation is in first place as far as console sales go. So they're not hurting for sales. It's just I think a lot of people are just kind of not necessarily losing interest. They just want to see something new from Nintendo. And it's been long enough, I think, for the Switch that something new needs to come out. But I agree that the marketing machine needs to start gearing up and start talking about this, not behind closed doors, but to the public, so the public can get ready to, see how much they're going to have to spend out of their wallets. And the scalpers can get ready too, so they can, download all the auto buy bots to go out there and buy all the stock and sell it for twice as much, like they did the PlayStation and the NVIDIA graphics cards and everything else that they scalp so they can resell it, which I'm sure will happen with the Switch too. So, when that game comes out, hopefully Nintendo has, or when that console comes out, hopefully Nintendo has enough stock that scalpers don't have to come in or don't come in and do that. And hopefully people will find a way around it so scalpers don't come in and do it. But I'm sure it'll happen. And just get ready, people. Just get ready to fight online for your console if you want it day one. Which I'm sure will be there, probably fighting the crowd trying to get in and get one. But yeah, so I'm excited for it. I hope it's true because they really need it. I think Nintendo really needs it. But what do you think?
Yeah. I mean, unfortunately, I feel this way, and some people may argue, may not, but I feel like when the Switch was released, it was already outdated. I mean, it was released with a 2-3-year-old GPU processor when it came out, and underpowered anyway because it's small form factor. What we got, like, average console lifespan is 6 to 7 years. So I mean, technically, the Switch is just now right there at that time frame. But I feel like the Switch was already behind the curve when it came out, especially with all these third-party games that are coming out that can no longer be played on the device, and it's not reached its hardware peak time, which is like 7 years or whatever. And so you get things like you mentioned, Armored Core 6 that was out on everything. I mean, we're talking PS4, 5, Xbox One, Xbox Series, all of it, and PC. But it can't run on the Switch. And the Switch, if they did, they may be able to stream something. But for a game like Armored Core, that's not a real good concept. It's too much trigger, can't deal with the latency of something like that. But I don't know, man. I feel, I have to get a lot of hate from that comment, but I feel like the Switch was very underpowered when it came out. And I own one. I bought one. I play games. So don't get me wrong. I enjoy it. But at the same time, I feel like it was already an old man when it came out, but to each their own. I love my Switch. I like the games. I like some games that are on it. Nice thing about the Switch is that it is portable. So if the girlfriend wants to play something, she could take it and it's upstairs. The kid wants to take it, she can take it and play it, whatever. And when I have it, it's docked on the docking station down here. I don't play it in handheld. So, it has that benefit to it. I buy one console and everybody in the house can use it. Whereas like my Xbox, it ain't going anywhere and I'm on it. If my kid wants to play on it, sorry, you have to wait your turn or wait till I'm not playing it, or the same thing with the PlayStation. So the Switch has that portability portability option. So that kind of helps. But I don't know, man. I'm not a huge fan of like the Steam Deck or any of these other handheld gaming devices for PC. And if it wasn't for the Switch exclusives, I probably wouldn't have a Switch, to be honest with you. I have no point in I have no reason to have one if it wasn't for the exclusives, and that's all I play on the Switch. I don't go out and get Skyrim on the Switch or something. I've got that on PC if I want to, I guess it's kind of turned into the same thing as my my PlayStation. My PlayStation is a PlayStation exclusive games. I like the Microsoft ecosystem better for general all around games that are on everything. Unless, there are specific games that I will only play on PC. Like I only do grand strategy on PC, tactical strategies. I love them on PC, not console, things like that. RPGs, I'm typically only a console person for RPGs. But some of them I don't mind playing on my Xbox or something or PlayStation. But I think Switch is overdue for a new console, and I hope it is a beefy console. But I also don't think that holding up an Xbox Series X as a gaming handheld console is going to be very conducive. So how are they going to perform comparable to those guys without meeting the form factor that those big guys had to conform to? I don't know. You're going to be lugging around a docking station that has to be tethered to at all times or something. Making it not so handheld anymore. It's handheld, but you got to take the docking station with you. That's where all the power comes from.
Right. You know what they could do? I mean, they could do something like where the docking station has its own chipset in it. So when you dock it, it just expands, kind of like back in the day with the N64, the little expansion slot, where the docking station is the expansion slot, right? Has its own chipset that it utilizes the Switch as well as the docking station to kind of combine its resources and really outputs an amazing picture and performance. And then when you undock it, it just uses what's, it in somehow or some way it lowers down puts it in potato mode for you to play, in the undocked sequence or something like that.
Kind of like, think of it like the Quest, the Oculus Quest, whereas it plays as a list of library games that it can play natively. And if you want to play some of these more higher end games, you have to tether it to a PC. So in this case, your Switch is tethering itself to the docking station. That might be a cool concept. That way you can play, because in the future, what you'll end up getting is games that say only playable on docked or undocked, right? This one's a dual function game. It can do both. But you get into like the, I don't know, Armored Core 6, and it's like, can only be played docked or something, so they can make that work. That's kind of a cool concept. And then you still have the portability of it, but for those higher end games, you just have to play it docked in a docking station. Yeah. Might be a good compromise there.
Yeah, I would be down for that. Like a docked, and you're exactly right with the, this one's dual mode
available or
dual
something.
Mode, yeah, where you can do it handheld and docked. And in some games you have to play it docked, right? Because the dock has the extra horsepower for it, right? It's got the expansion port.
Everybody did that back in the day, right? Like Sega did that with the 32X, and
right. Well, even the N64, like there were certain games on the N64 that you could not play without the expansion pack, right? Yeah, there wasn't a lot, but there was some that wouldn't work unless you had the expansion pack. So they could do the same thing, right? And as long as they made it upfront with people that, hey, there are some, what they should do is make it to where it's backwards compatible with the Switch 1. So the Switch 1 library works in your Switch 2. Right. So all those games will work handheld. And then where the docking station in the Switch 2 is brand new, it has its own chipset and stuff to expand the power. And, and then there are certain games for the Switch 2 that will work in both. And some games that only worked when it's docked. Right. If it's not docked, you have to dock it in order to play the game. But it still allows those people to play their old Switch games and then some newer Switch games on the Switch 2 in the handheld mode. Otherwise, some of the bigger titles such as Armored Core 6, or in this case, maybe Armored Core 7 or something like that, you have to dock it in order to play that. Elder Scrolls or Elden Ring 2, you have to dock it to play that one, whatever the case may be. Assassin's Creed, Mirage, Fantasy, Assassins 2 player. That's the name of the new one. You have to dock it to play that one, right? So yeah, and as long as they say on their dual dock or dual play mode or dock only, stuff like that. That way the consumer knows. Then I don't see a problem as long as they advertise and make sure that people know that, right? Because you don't want those people. You have a lot of angry people that go, "Why I can't play this in handheld?" As long you have to make it clear to people that these things are docked or not docked. But I think it would work that way. I think it would be better for them that way.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't see him going that route though. It's probably just still a completely handheld device, and if you want to be able to play it docked, there's going to be that option. So, but hey, we'll see. Hopefully, they need to get that. Like you said, that marketing machine needs to get to turning so we can see what's coming. See how much money we got to save. Because if I got to spend $500 for another console, that might be a little rough on the Nintendo lineup. So, yeah,
there was a poll out there. I don't remember who did the poll, but there was a poll out there talking about the Switch 2 and what people thought the price of it would be. And I voted for $500, and that was the highest percentage in that poll. I think it went from, it was 300, 400, 500, and 600 as the options they gave in the poll. And 500 was, I think, 43% of the individuals. I don't remember how many voted, but 43% of the people that voted for 500, which I assume if a Switch 2 comes out and it's going to be as powerful as they say it is, I'm going to say it's probably going to be around $500.
Yeah, as powerful as they say it is, and form factor, mobile form factor. That'll be the thing. I'll be honest with you, if it's $500, it's going to be a tough sale for me. Because the number of Switch games that we play doesn't really warrant that high of a cost of a console to me. To me, anyway.
I mean, I'll me, I'll get it regardless. But I'll have a lot higher incentive to. I'll have a much higher incentive to get it if it's backwards compatible. I think that's one thing they need to make sure the Switch 2 does, is you can play your Switch 1 games in your Switch 2. Right. I think that
100%
needs to be
it has to have
guaranteed that it can do that.
If that can't be, then that'll be a definite. We're waiting on this thing to go on sale, or until there's a gotta have Nintendo exclusive game that's only coming out on the Switch 2.
Yeah.
So,
but if they say Switch 2 can play your Switch 1 games, hey, I'm there day one. Like, cool, awesome. I can play these other games. I mean, there'll be other ones, I'm sure there's be some launch titles that are cool, but I mean, that has to be the thing because people have Switch 1s and stuff like that. But, some people might want to get rid of their Switch 1 for Switch 2 but they don't want to get rid of their library, right? They want to keep their games, but get rid of the console. So if you can say, well, you could play all your Switch 1 games in your Switch 2, you just pop the SD card in there, right, of the game, then awesome. And maybe even if it would even be better is if they said you can play your Switch 1 games in there and they run better in the Switch 2.
They probably would if the graphics fidelity.
I would hope so, right?
Yeah. So I'd be a little bit on the fence. Like I said, $500 is going to be a hard pill for me to swallow for something that I turn on once every few months. I'll be honest. My kid plays it and the girlfriend plays it way more than I do.
Same here. I think it's my least played console. I play on my PC, my PlayStation, and my Xbox way more than I do my Switch. Yep. It gets turned on the least. And my daughter plays the Switch, I think, the most in the house.
Yeah. So same boat here. It would be a hard sell for me at $500. It would have to. I'll be honest. I don't know. It depends on how bad the FOMO is on that. Or if I can just wait till the first must-have game comes out on it, maybe I can get a customized console, right? Get one of those limited edition Pokemon or Zelda or whatever consoles, at that one. So
it depends on what they come out on release day with, right? I mean, if it's a Zelda or a Metroid or a Mario, I'm probably gonna be like, if it's just a bunch of re-releases of like, an updated version of Tears of the Kingdom or something, like just graphically updated version of Tears of the Kingdom, I'll be like, I can wait for something else, but if they come out with a brand new Metroid on launch day or Zelda or, something like that, I'd be like, oh man, I really want to play that.
Yep. That's same. So cool. So, I think that, we've been wanting a Switch 2 for a while. I think we were talking about it all through the pandemic, which was a couple of years ago, thinking about that when that thing was only like 4 or 5 years old. And we were like, this Switch has got to be replaced already. So that should tell you, where we stand on that. It needs to be a high powered console so it can compete. And could draw in some of those third party games that are only on this, the PlayStation, the Xbox, because they just can't work out the graphical fidelity or the horsepower needs that the game has. So you got anything else, Nick, before we end this one? All right. Well, let us know what you think down in the comments. Do you think the Switch 2 is going to be $500? And what is your tipping point for buying the new one? Would you spend $500 or would you wait for the must-have exclusive game? Or would it be completely out of your budget at $500? What are your thoughts on that? We enjoy the feedback and the back and forth on what everybody else thinks. So we're not just a sounding board. I know there's plenty of people out there who just, like everybody else, you have your brands that are your favorite. And if Nintendo drops something, you're getting it. That's just the way it is. And everybody has that. There's somebody has it more for one brand or another or things like that. So let us know what your thoughts are down in the comments. And we hope you enjoyed this episode and hope to catch you in the next one.